Nikhil. Hi, I'm Nirmal. And in this video, this is our second episode of the best questions from the internet. Let's get straight into the video. So, this time we'll be looking at one of my other favorite subreddits, which is it's called No Stupid Questions. Again, guys, if you don't know what Reddit is or subreddit is, I'll link a video in the description explaining what Reddit is and subreddit is. It's basically an online community where it's like a front page of the internet. So
it is the front page of the internet.
So in this video, we are looking at a subreddit called No Stupid Questions. Again, a really interesting subreddit. So let's see what our first question is for today. So this is one interesting question. Why does it seem like you have to be extremely fake in order to get anywhere in life? What do you think, Nirmal?
It's too deep. I don't know. Okay, fine.
So the question
you answer first. Okay, fine. Wait. Let's read the description first of what is attached to the question. So why does it seem like you have to be extremely fake in order to get anywhere in life? Like if you're trying to get a job, the first thing you have to do is tell the employer what they want to hear in the interview, even if you don't mean it. Then you have to maintain professionalism whilst you're on the job, which is basically just you putting up an act because you're required to in order to keep the job. If you want to start your own business, you have to network with a bunch of people who you might not like until you find the right person that can help you advance, even though you might not genuinely like the person. Even if you want to be a celebrity or an internet personality, you have to present a false version of yourself to your audience and have them believe that's really you.
This is actually a really nice question if you think about it, because this is something which is which humanity is struggling with right now if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, we are doing it is quite hard. Like, I recognize, I mean, it's just like this person put it, even in an interview, I don't want to be that vocal, but I am. Even in a lot of situations where I would rather prefer to be indoors, I still have to go outdoors because whatever, you're putting up some version of a fake persona out there.
I don't think. Okay, so let's think about it like this. Now, the first thing I want to point out is, while answering this question, I want to set up some context. I genuinely feel that social media didn't change anything. I just think that it brought a magnifying glass to the way humans already are. So it just basically made it clear to everyone, or made it easier to broadcast how fake everyone is, even in reality. I genuinely feel social media didn't ruin anything. It just made us more aware.
I don't know. I would like to disagree with that. I don't think...
I think so, honestly. Because, I mean, think about it, right? Like, even before social media and all was prevalent, there were shitty people. It's not like shitty people just came to be because of social media.
True. But...
the second part is, the only thing which social media has done is given a platform for all shitty people as well. At the same time, also a lot of genuine people.
Maybe. See, I think that what the place where this question is coming from, at least, it doesn't really have to be linked to social media, like you said.
Yeah. So I'm just setting that context while I'm trying to answer this question. Why does it seem like you have to be fake? Now... Let's get into the actual question.
So there's something here interesting which pertains to you, which is that if you want to start your own business, you have to network with a bunch of people who you might not like.
True, but at the same time, if you see, right, at least this is my belief, or I've actually seen this happen a lot, when someone is trying to fake it to try to network, or when someone is trying to fake it even on the internet, it's basically building up to a bubble which will eventually pop.
Okay.
I genuinely feel that, like, in the long term. In the short term, yes, you may feel like a lot of people are just faking it. But in the long term, everything balances out, and it's actually the people who are really genuine who end up lasting the longest, if that's the right phrase. In fact, the best things which happened to me in life were because I was true to myself.
So are you saying then that you don't have to be fake in most circumstances?
Exactly. So the answer to your question is, if you're thinking in the short term, it will appear as though you have to be extremely fake. But when
Okay.
you think in the long term, you can't be fake for a long time. It's not possible. It'll explode.
It's really hard.
It's next
Also.
to impossible. You can't lie. Like,
Yeah, you
Even-
always come across a lot of these YouTube videos, and I mean, from a lot of personalities are like, I can't maintain this
forget about
lifestyle
that.
again.
I'm sure you'll know friends who have been fake or who have just imploded upon themselves, who have not been themselves. It's not lasted for a long time. Like, if you think from a long-term perspective, I think it's in your interest to be genuine and honest to who you are. If you're an introvert, in the long term, you will end up doing introverted things. If you're an extrovert, you'll end up doing extroverted things. But that's how it is. Like, I genuinely feel in the short term, definitely you have to be fake. I mean, you have to be able to, at least set a good first impression, as you mentioned in a job interview or something like that.
Yeah,
But then in the long term, right?
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. So I think your question is absolutely right, because people are thinking in the short term. It appears as though you have to be fake, but when you really increase the duration, the lens in which you're looking at, then I think in terms of long term thinking, you don't have to be fake. In fact, if you are fake, it'll just implode on you. What do you think?
I just think that another, I mean, if you're very strictly looking at this in practical sense, just being fake may help you in very, very few situations. But apart from that, yeah, maybe, I mean, like, I know for a fact that I can't be too fake, because it's just too much work. It's not, it's too much. But I also understand that there might be a lot of situations where, because society and all companies, or maybe the people you're interacting with, reward this kind of behavior, means that it's the only way, or maybe not the only way, but definitely an effective way to get things done. Maybe you're true to yourself in your inside, like in your mind, you know that there's something fake that you're doing, but you know that the longer goal is something that's worthwhile, so you end up being fake for like some XYZ situations. Maybe
Exactly.
that's how you'll have to operate in the current world. You'll have to be, I mean, there will be
In
situations
fact,
where
I would
you'll have
like to state this. The phrase which you have used, which is fake, I think, I mean, the original poster for this, the fake, I think that can be replaced with polite. No, I'm being honest. Think about it.
I don't think I think it's not true, because rather politeness isn't respected as much as just like being harsh and like being some version of an arrogant dick.
No. So that is just you looking at it at a lens from a bias of those people end up getting the most media.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, trust me, thousands of people are really polite and get a lot of stuff done. And that's the majority actually.
Yeah, but if
Dicks
you
are the
replace,
ones who are
right. If you replace the question, then it seems like being polite is also not something you should have to do. Is that what you're saying? Or rather, you want people to be a bit more like kind and polite? I think if people are willing to be more kind and more polite, then it's easier for people to not be fake.
Okay.
So like you're not, you're probably not afraid. You might not have a lot of second thoughts about what is like authentic behavior. And obviously, like if your behavior is bad, then yeah, you will be called out.
Let's check out the best response.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what are the responses for this post.
The company I work for finally have had enough of hiring people who are only good at doing job interviews instead of actually being good at what they're supposed to do for their jobs. So now we simply do a simple interview. then sit them in front of a computer to perform a technical test that actually relates to their job. And if they pass, we continue with the rest of the interview. This is exactly what I said. So if someone is thinking in a very, very short-term perspective, right? You can just build a skill of, being really good at a job interview, for example.
Yeah. But after
But then eventually it will catch up.
True.
So being extremely fake, it seems to be the case, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, it might work in very few situations.
What's the second best answer?
Wait, not 1 minute. This is one answer. It doesn't really answer the question. This guy is just saying that why it's not the case.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think there's one. I don't think there's just one authentic version of yourself. It's not just work and home life. There's with different groups of friends, family, the pub. I'm definitely a different person when driving. Even with my girlfriend, who I've been with for 8 years, there are things I would think and not say. For work, if you're trying to get ahead, you have to play the game, but at least you know it's all bullshit. I also find it easier doing a lot of the grubby things you have to do for work if you know that it's not really who you are. Exactly, this is what I was saying, that there might be situations where you know this isn't yourself and it's not something you are, and you have to just like do those things because it's demanded of you.
So guys, what do you think is the answer for this question? Why does it seem like you have to be extremely fake in order to get anywhere in life? Please leave a comment below. We'd definitely like to know your opinion as well.
Yeah. I think it's like a very interesting question. This was just posted like 4 days back. And when you think about like how everyone is on the internet and everyone is right now spending a lot of time on social media.
Yep. Okay, so the next question is, so this is actually a question which was submitted by you guys.
Oh, okay, yeah. This was in the comment section
for our first video. Just a second.
Let's open. We'll just do it. Yeah, we'll like answer it right now because there's a.
Okay. So from our first video, the question was, would you want a boss like Michael Scott or Leslie Knope? This has to be a furious debate, I'm sure.
There is a question like this which is asked on Reddit. I'm 100% sure. I think like if we just search, we will find a question like this. I remember coming across some debate.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay. So this is from the Park and Rec subreddit. Would you rather work for Leslie Knope or Michael Scott? So those of you who don't know, Leslie Knope is the main protagonist for the TV series Parks and Rec.
One of the main characters.
And and Michael Scott is the main protagonist of the legendary Office.
Yeah.
So Nirmal, what's your answer for this?
Is this now this is just going to be a deep dive into the Office?
Definitely. So what's your answer?
So I think Leslie Knope is
what
who I
crap?
would want to work. It's Leslie Knope. It's Leslie Knope.
No chance. No way in hell.
Okay, fine. We'll go. You tell me first why you want to work under Michael Scott.
So I am a huge Michael Scott fan. I think he's one of the most underappreciated character in their own universe. So in the Office universe, Michael Scott is one of the most underappreciated characters. From the first season, think about it like this, okay? So the Office is set in fairly modern times, right? So that's when internet is trying to replace computer, and you have very big retailers, online retailers, trying to fade away, the paper industry. The only way you can keep talented employees in the organization is to try to make it fun.
Okay.
There's no one who comes close to Michael Scott trying to make the Office fun. And we end up seeing, in the TV show, we of course end up seeing some of them failing badly, some of them being really successful. But when you think about it, to keep a paper company profitable, the only way to do it is they have talented employees And the only way to motivate your talented employees to sell paper is to make it fun.
Okay, see, but that just says that you want to be in a work environment that's a lot of fun with a boss.
Correct, but it's never done at the compromise of the results, right? So you tell me during the office there's a recurring theme that his branch always overperforms.
True.
Always.
See,
Like their branch is so good that it goes through 3 company mergers and acquisitions. Seriously, you can see, right? So the company shuts down, it gets sold to Sabre, it gets sold from Sabre to, I forget his name, the old CFO of Michael Scott, of Dunder Mifflin.
David Wallace.
David Wallace, yeah. It goes through so many things only because Michael Scott is able to retain talented employees and keep it fun. That's the first thing. Because he's delivering results at the same time keeping it fun for selling paper.
Okay.
The second thing is, if you see, apart from one episode where he is trying to undermine Jim to become a manager, I do not think throughout the entire series he tries to undermine any employee.
There's also that one time he undermines Dwight, but okay.
No. That was when he was no longer part of that company.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay.
Okay. So that's the second thing. And lastly, if you see as the character progression happens for every character, it's Michael Scott trying to constantly beat certain things into, his employees, because of which over the years the characters become better and better. Like there's so many small things which he does, and you can actually see this in some episode there is slip ups. Like for example, there's one episode when Jim was the manager, and Jim comes and thanks Michael's they're co-managers basically. And like, have you seen that episode?
Yeah.
I tried to do this the first time I was here, and
Yeah.
it completely backfired and all that.
Yeah.
So it may feel like he's fooling around, but he's not. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's one of the most successful paper salesmen. He successfully takes his branch through 3 mergers and acquisitions. I don't know, like, what else can you expect from a boss? And towards the end, Jim actually ends up taking a leap of trying to get a different company, all because of how encouraging someone like Michael Scott is.
So I just think that
The counterpoint of why I seriously do not think Leslie Knope should be my boss is, first thing, for the most part of the series, she's not the main boss.
yeah, she's
Ron Swanson is the main boss. It's actually him who should be compared with Michael Scott and not Leslie Knope, because Leslie Knope is just an underling to Ron Swanson. Yes.
We can discuss that aspect of the show.
That's the
Later.
first thing. She was not even the boss. She becomes a boss much later on
Just
in the
one
series.
technicality here.
That's not a technicality. It may feel like she was running the show. She was not. She was being allowed to run the show by a libertarian like Ron Swanson.
In a government job, he didn't want that job. He was just in it.
He was in there trying to
So
make sure the government doesn't end up spending most
the
money.
The question isn't about whether Ron Swanson is the main boss or not. Like, it can also be, whether you would want to work for Ron Swanson. The question is whether you want to work for Leslie Knope.
So let's come to Leslie Knope, okay?
Yeah.
Wait.
Wait.
Why I don't like her as my boss is because if I have to work for her, I would be burnt out within a week. She will make me work so much. You tell me now, what do you think?
See, it's my opinion that Leslie Knope is a lot more encouraging than Michael Scott is.
Okay.
That's one. Second, because she's that good at her job, you get to learn that much more.
So you're telling me Michael Scott is not a good paper salesman?
No.
Then
I'm not saying that. I'm saying Leslie Knope is if Leslie Knope would sell paper, she would be a lot better than Michael Scott.
no chance. The only thing Leslie Knope has over Michael Scott is she just works longer by drowning herself in sugar. She just works, instead of Michael Scott, who works a reasonable hour, which is 8 to 9 hours a day, She works 12 to 24 hours a day.
That's okay. See, it's just a personal preference. I would prefer someone who mentors well. Michael Scott, in few instances, does not always. That's what I'm looking. I'm looking at consistency here.
Okay.
I'm not looking at like the rare chance where the boss or mentor is doing something amazing. Every time Leslie Knope comes to office, you know that something is gonna get done. You know you'll be learning something. You know you're gonna feel motivated enough to do it. Unless, of course, if you're like a character like April, but like, I'm not like that person. So that means
No, so
that
you're not scared of getting burnt out working for someone like
I
Leslie
don't
Knope?
think I will. See,
Dude, she'll
because
ask you
the
to
difference
clock in.
is Leslie Knope wants is the reason why a lot of the characters there are willing to work so much for her is because of the kind of things she has given them as well. Now, in a normal situation where like she's my boss and all, I would understand the kind of value hopefully that would have been added, and I won't feel bad for adding the same value. So that's the difference. I think I would learn a lot more career-wise. It would be so much better, and if I wanted to like do well, Leslie Knope would be a lot more encouraging. Not to mention like the thoughtful gifts that she gives every single person.
So I think you're thinking of Leslie Knope as a friend and not like a boss. Given the circumstance of being in a paper company, what Michael Scott brings on the table is much, much more valuable than the circumstance which Leslie Knope was in.
Yeah, but
I'm
that's
sure you
not-
switch
that-
their
that-
places.
you're just
I'm sure you switch their places, Michael Scott gets more done.
No, that's Michael Scott does not work. He makes few sales over the course of 7 seasons. He makes just few sales, and that's it. There is nothing much he's doing. Like you said, he has been able to retain those talented employees, but I think Leslie Knope also is able to do that. It's not like
She doesn't. She is not critical enough with her employees. That's one of my major issues with Leslie Knope. Michael Scott, for example, can at least
She
tell
will
something.
give you
Please.
extremely kind and constructive feedback.
She has
That
not.
doesn't
There's no
mean she
concept of
isn't
feedback
critical.
only in Leslie Knope's dictionary.
Hey.
Tell me one episode in which she's given feedback.
She tells April Ludgate, like what she needs to do, or like how she needs to be a bit more motivated, how she needs to be a bit more independent. All of those things are things she eventually becomes. So I'm not saying like it's one-off instances. I mean, the creators of the show are the same, so you know that those instances are there.
See, for me, it boils down to this: I cannot get overworked. She will run me to the ground within a month.
Nahi hoga. It won't happen.
And then, I mean, what she will
It
expect out
won't
of me to
happen.
work.
See, the only time when those situations have happened have always been again, and she overworks herself, not her employees. There's a small difference there.
No.
Look at the.
This is the same
If
logic
you look
of
at the Harvest Festival, all the employees were
so
willingly
if-
doing all of those things.
if I am someone who is okay working for hours and hours together and don't have a social life, I would definitely want Leslie Knope as my boss.
You're just like making this a very big if then. I don't think that's the case at all. Look at someone like what's this person's name? Tom. What is that guy's name? Tom Haverford.
Huh.
Tom Haverford. He did decently well. He wasn't overworking himself.
He was one of the least effective employees, and he was still employed. They never encouraged him to get better in his job. That's my problem with Leslie Knope.
Michael Scott never fires. Oh shit! Michael Scott never fires this guy, the accountant. Shit, how did I forget his name? Kevin. Michael Scott never fires Kevin. Dwight Howard is the one who fires him. So
Dwight Schrute.
Oh shit, Dwight Howard was there. Dwight Schrute. No, this can't go in the video.
Guys, so
No.
Yeah, this is definitely good. So guys, what do you
I'm
think?
still in that NDA mode.
Whom would you want as your boss, Leslie Knope or Michael Scott? We are gonna this particular discussion, I don't think it's gonna end so easily.
Yeah.
But I would love to know what you think. Who should be your boss? Let's know for Michael Scott. Don't forget to leave it in the comment section below. So that's all for this episode, guys. Let us know in the comments if you have any specific question you would like us to answer, and we'll come up with 2 more new questions, interesting questions from the internet in the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Curiosect. I'm sure you'll love some of the content we put out, especially around curiosity and just discovering things.
Yeah. Like I think we will we'll be soon releasing another podcast episode. I'm recording that. I think it'll come out in a couple of days. So
Sure. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you guys in our next video.
bye. I want to do that always.